anytime that I'm stressed, anxious, or, not myself fully, I can go back to the game and it's going to get me back to who I am, because it's that, even if it's tapping into that childhood version of myself, that innocence, or it's just always been a source of so much joy, pride, and success, that it will remind me of, what it's done for me and bring that gratitude back to the forefront. So I'm wearing my basketball court, shorts and uni, whatever I'm going to wear to play pickup, under my dress clothes, sprinting, during the final prayer or don't alum or whatever it is, sprinting to that court to make sure we're in that first game. But I mean, my purpose is working with the game in general. So yeah, it's teaching a kid here in LA, and it's also being able to get a basketball shipped over there for a kid over there.
I want to start with a quote from you in a past interview. For me, a few-hour hoop session is a sacred spiritual practice. I love the collective aspect. I love that basketball can transcend difference and be common ground for people to connect. What serves me well in basketball also serves my well-being. When I read that, I thought that was just a perfect way to sum up a lot of people's feelings about basketball. And I know me personally, I have trouble kind of articulating that feeling, and I think you did it beautifully. So I wanted to ask you to elaborate on that quote a little bit.
Wow. Yeah. Thanks, Spence. That means a lot to me, man. Yeah. I haven't heard that quote read back to me. I'm assuming that's from the Local Hoops article. They do a great job with what they're doing for the game. And it's always fun for me to talk basketball, because that's what I feel like I'm going to do all day, every day, even when it's not a podcast about the game. But, when I was thinking about that in that moment, it just, this idea of a spiritual practice, whether it's, and forgive the lawnmower and the lawn, but it's, it's something that all of us have our version of it, right? Some are conscious of it and more intentional and deliberate about that spiritual practice than the others. But for me, and my experience with my spiritual practice, whether it's basketball or another one like meditation, or I try to be consistent with that, and Qigong and these, different type of things connected to our body and our breath. The more consistent we are with those acts, the more powerful they are. So just like, that's a lesson I gained from general spiritual practice, that's also a lesson I gained out of basketball, right? Because my consistency with my habits in basketball are obviously what benefit me in the most difficult settings of the game. I'm only 5'8", 155, and I'm a non-athlete. However, I have been playing this game with a deliberate purpose and practice with that deliberate practice since the beginning, really, 20 plus years, almost 30 years now. So that is something I could tap into even when I'm outmatched in other areas. So I don't know. I think, the value of consistency overlapping with this value of passion, that's what I get out of basketball more than anything, right? And they really transcend the game and how they've benefited me. So, it's something we lose. I might wake up in a day and not meditate as long, or not even meditate on that given day. And obviously that's a step away from where I'm working to be. So we all have our peaks and valleys, but, just like the ability to go to the park by yourself and see the ball go through the net, if you had an off shooting game, hypothetically, is just a way to reset and find that equilibrium. So, I just said equilibrium. My best friend in college, I played against him in high school. He's now a musician. So his artist name as a musician is Equanimous, right? So this equanimity, this calm, this levelness. And I think it's beautiful. It's fitting for who his artist is. And it's, emblematic of what you want your point guard to be.
Yeah.
I coached, my first coaching gig in college was for a guy named Rancourt, Coach Guy Rancourt. So he was the head coach at a Division III. Now he's the head coach at his alma mater, Western Connecticut State. But I was at Lycoming College with him. So he had this really talented team. We were winning a lot of games, and we hit a rough patch. And he claims he got a call from Phil Jackson. It was like Coach Larinaga advocated for Rancourt that he needed help. So apparently Coach L's close with Phil, and Phil called Rancourt. So Rancourt's telling our team the only message the Zen Master had for him was about the season going to be inevitably peaks and valleys. So having that levelness in the face of that as a group would help us persevere. So, it's just like you're saying, like there was some profound wisdom, I hope, in what I said about the game. So like you're saying, like the game itself is a vehicle for that, for all of us that are really appreciated and embedded in our lives. And, for other people, there's other things, not sports or not basketball, that have that purpose for them. But I'm grateful because, the more we lean into basketball, the more you can see these different attributes and dimensions to the game that you can use as a blueprint. So, it's fun to recollect on my own words because I never really done that ever. And obviously I got sidetracked. But yeah, I mean, anytime that I'm stressed, anxious, or, not myself fully, I can go back to the game and it's going to get me back to who I am, because it's that, even if it's tapping into that childhood version of myself, that innocence, or it's just always been a source of so much joy, pride, and success, that it will remind me of, what it's done for me and bring that gratitude back to the forefront.
Wow. That's great. I mean, like I said, I really loved that quote, and I think it embodied what a lot of people feel when they do go to that court by themselves with the ball, and you don't need anybody and you're just looking for that reset, or like you said, you have an off shooting night, whatever the case may be, that ball and that hoop's a constant. So yeah,
my boy coaches in the league for the Hornets. Okay. And he's, having a tough season. Like his team isn't succeeding to the level they could. And he's trying to tell me, his name is Nick Friedman. So Coach Nick is like, how can I get my athletes to not lose the perspective, and get back to who they are? Because these are elite NBA players, and, they could be achieving at a higher level. And he said it the other day, like, what's better for your confidence and for your mood than just a great pickup, a day of pickup, where you're dominating or you're not. But, just the aspect of having pickup, and so like we were saying, like a one-on-one, 1-on-0 workout at the park shooting, and a good run with the homies, or a competitive run with the game in the right curated setting. There's nothing better than that feeling. You can't replace that.
Yeah, definitely. So I know you talked about coaching at how do you pronounce it? Lycoming?
Yeah, Lycoming.
Yeah. I want to
in Williamsport, Pennsylvania.
Okay. I know you've had a few coaching stops, so I want to start with the beginning and start with who were the Rappin' Rabbis, or what were the Rappin' Rabbis?
Yeah, you did your research right. So Rappin' Rabbis is my Jewish community day school team. So I went to a small Jewish day school that was just getting off the ground in Massachusetts. And we had a parent, Mark Pollock, who was willing to coach our team, and his sons, who were some of my best friends at the time. One of them ended up playing at Grinnell, Joel. But Joel and Danny, his older brother, and Mark and I were all hoop junkies and insisted on making a team. So I was in first grade. Maybe it wasn't until second grade that team actually was real. And we'd go to school early before school started. So, we're practicing 6, 7 in the morning.
Wow.
At a church gym, because we shared our school was inside a church. So fortunately, Trinity Catholic High School, where we eventually moved, I think maybe now I'm third, fourth grade, they had a nice gym in Newton, Massachusetts. And we were able to use their gym for practice in the mornings. And we would play very sparingly. I mean, we played once or twice a year against the local Jewish community center.
Wow.
And then maybe the Montessori school. So it was very small beginnings for my basketball career, but it's very cool because I'm still working closely with the head coach of that team with the work I do in Haiti. His organization is my fiscal sponsor.
Okay.
So Mark Pollock and I still, to this day, from when I was 6 years old till now, are connected through the game of basketball. But it's funny because my sister was on the Rappin' Rabbis. Like, my sister lives in LA also. She's my older sister. So she's never been a basketball person, even at that stage. But she was one of the students of the school. It's a small school, and she came to practice, and we raced one day. And the first 5 to win the race got to start. And I'm really slow still. So I remember she was one of the 5 fastest and got to start for the Rapid Rabbis, which was something that for me is very funny to think back on. And actually, she played in like a co-ed league in Brooklyn when she was a student at NYU. So I played on her team in that co-ed league in like Greenpoint or Williamsburg, wherever it was. And that was the next time she played basketball since the Rapid Rabbis. So her basketball career is very very humble and modest, but it's cool that she was on my team and she got a bucket, which was something I don't think I did that first season of the Rapid Rabbis. So it's, you know, it's something that she can always hold over my head, and quite silly for us. But, you know, that team was at the Jewish Community Day School. So they actually have a school team now. The logo for Jewish Community Day School is a flame, right? So each student is like, you know, it's that soul that you know, because they work with every dimension of the student, not just, you know, teaching actual academics, but, you know, the spiritual, emotional, all that. And it's holistic, and they do a great job. Their team is called the Blaze because the flame is the logo. So the JCDS Blaze men's and women, girls and boys team have had some success recently, and it's cool to see because I feel like a forefather of that program with the Rapid Rabbis. There was actually a family from New York, the Lurias. So they're a Jewish family whose father, Dov Luria, is a rabbi, and they're 4 brothers. So 3 of those 4 brothers are all hoop junkies. The 2 oldest are closer to my age, so they were on that team. And, you know, one was our probably best player, Yehuda Luria, and then Nissan Luria was my backup backcourt mate. And it's great because I've stayed in touch with that family as an adult, as a teenager, and we had so much, you know, basketball was our tie. They moved in from New York, and basketball was our thread, and they are a great family, and the older brothers. And now the youngest brother is a killer. Like I last played pickup with him in New York City, and they're a religious family, so he's leaving. I don't know if you're a Jewish guy or not. You are?
Yeah.
So, yeah, so it's Shabbos, or I think it was Shabbos, and he's like leaving with his Shabbos clothes to come to the park. So he meets us at this park. He's in dress shoes, seat, the yarmulke, the whole thing, and he's cooking.
Oh my God.
In that fit, you know, I don't even know how he had any traction. But he was, his name is Eli Luria, and he was giving us the business in his Shabbos clothes.
Wow.
But it's funny because we all went to the same Jewish summer camp.
Okay.
So we had Shabbos ball, and Shabbos ball was that Saturday run right after services. But you couldn't play in it until you were a CIT or a counselor. So it was the highest level pickup, you know, you get to witness at our Jewish summer camp. So in the summer, every summer you go watch until, you know, like I would go watch every summer until I was finally a CIT and able to play. And then it's the race to the court to get into the first game. So I'm wearing my basketball court, you know, shorts and uni, whatever I'm going to wear to play pickup under my dress clothes.
Oh my God.
Sprinting, you know, during the final prayer or Don Olam or whatever it is, sprinting to that court to make sure we're in that first game. And the best Shabbos ball player in Camp Yavne history, or at least in my era, is a guy named Avi Minder. So the way I'll tie it in is now Avi is a teacher at JCDS where the Rapid Rabbi started.
Wow.
He's one of the best teachers at that day school, and he's one of the best Jewish hoopers I've ever come across, or hoopers in general. He's a great player out of Massachusetts, and it's cool that he's now at JCDS. So, you know, they have some great, you know, if it was teacher-student day and they're playing some games, I don't think those kids want any part of that.
That's awesome. It sounds like you're still, pretty connected with
it's my parents' day school. My mother is still involved with Jewish Community Day School, and she and my father helped get it off the ground. Initially, we only had like 11 students, and now it's, you know, a full-blown institution, multiple hundreds of students there, and it's cool to see.
That's amazing.
What it's you know, become.
Yeah. So you said that was in Newton?
Yeah, the school is in Watertown, Massachusetts. Yeah, it was originally at a couple different venues throughout Newton. There was Trinity Catholic Church. There was another church it started in, and we were like in the basement. That's where, like I said, it was very small at that time. And yeah, it's in Watertown, Mass.
How far is that from Boston?
That's right there,
Oh,
suburbs of
okay.
Boston. Newton and
Okay.
Boston border each other, and Watertown's right over there as well.
Got it. So you found basketball, you said you started playing first and second grade. How did you get into it? Was it through those friends or your
Yeah, it
dad?
was through Mark's son. It
Okay.
was like the head coach of the Rapper Rabbi's kid, and I became best friends in first grade, and he was a big fan of basketball. Danny's dad, Mark, was a pitcher in the minors, and I think he had some vision issues, and he couldn't stick with baseball. But he was always a huge sports fan, huge basketball fan, and we'd watch. He's a Cleveland guy, so we watched like the World Series. I remember the Indians, Marlins World Series at their house, and I would take pride in the Indians because of them. So I think I was at their house like red and blue face paint for the Indians, but we were watching those MJ the second three-peat, really.
Oh, wow.
So like, I remember watching the shot, Byron Russell push off
Yeah.
game 6 against the Jazz at the Pollock household. I remember, all these times watching basketball was a lot of time with them. Yeah, my family isn't a sports family.
Hmm.
So I kind of got that interest in basketball through staying with them. And his dad would literally like wake us in the middle of the night and we played 2-on-2 with the dad and the little brother against me and the older brother. They had the little court in the yard. We were shooting at that court in the yard that day. The Celtics were in the conference finals against the Nets. And it was like Twan, Pierce made that big fourth quarter comeback.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember this game, right? So we had watched, we're watching the game. Man, Celtics going to lose. Game's over. We go out, get our own shots up. And Carla, lovely woman, Danny's mother, was like, what? You guys got to come back in and see this, because we thought it was over for sure. So all types of fond memories of, being a little kid and just getting a feel for basketball through the Pollocks. And then, I took my own ownership of it. And, my parents were great and supportive of my pursuit of that. And, I was delusional about who I would be as a player as a little kid because we were in that small bubble of the Jewish basketball community at the time, really.
So after you played at the community day school, that ended in 8th grade, or how far did that go up?
Yeah, I actually left as a basketball decision. Like,
wow.
I was looking at it as like, well, I gotta make I have to find a way to play higher levels of competition besides going to play pickup in different areas of Boston and things like that. And I'm a middle schooler, 7th grader, and I wanted to go play at the public high school. Like I visited it was called New Jewish High School or Gann Academy, and they toured me around. And I remember I could be on varsity as a freshman probably, and I played one day in practice. I probably wasn't even that good enough to be on varsity as a freshman, even at Jewish school. But in my head, I was like, oh, go dominate at New Jew or, go to the public school in my town. So I went to the middle school in my hometown, Weston Middle School for 8th grade.
Okay.
And then Weston High School right on that same block for high school. And it was great. We were very, very non-athletic basketball program even there. So for me to think this is a high level, it's funny, it's a small high school, only like 700 kids,
Wow.
I think about the competition you see around the country. You have great players who can't make their high school team, and I was fortunate enough to play at Weston High and made the basketball decision. I had all these goals. I'm going to make varsity by my junior year. I'm going to do this, that. And I achieved that. I achieved varsity as a junior and was on the freshman team and sophomore on the JV team. And it was funny to me because I never started on freshman or JV, but I was captain of the team both years. And I got some tick. Like, I came in off the bench and our head coach of the varsity team gave me all this confidence as a sophomore when I'm on JV, announcing it to the whole program. Aaron's our best ball handler in the program. And that's, me in my head, like, why aren't I on varsity then? But I had no idea what I was doing. Really delusional and oblivious high school player. And I have the film to prove it. So it's fun to look back on those days. And Weston's program has had some up and down success. They had some times where they've been good. They won a state title in the 90s. I had a guy named Casey Gibbons who scored 1,000 points in 2 years, played at Cornell, played at Williams, took Williams to the Final Four. His little brother was on the team with me. And, he's a great guy, Patrick. And they were, one family of basketball from Weston. Their brother actually adopted Hassan Fufana, played at Maryland. But, it's rare. It's rare that you had that high-level Weston basketball. And then they found that glory again recently. Our freshman coach was from our neighboring rival town. It's a guy named Dennis Doherty, who's now the head coach at his high school in Wayland, the town next door. But he was our freshman coach at Weston. So when I took, that year and was on freshman, he had just taken the job. And it was really great timing because he's an excellent high school coach. And to have the opportunity to play for a guy like that at that time was really impactful. And we had a nice year, successful year. That guy, Equanimous, that I referenced earlier, the musician, he went to Newton South High School. So I remember they were pretty good. I think they were undefeated when we matched up with them. And I met him in layup lines of that game. And they had a play called Celtic, meant backdoor. And he kept coming off these floppy actions, making threes or calling Celtic because he could really shoot off the catch. He still to this day can. We actually went to Venice Beach on Christmas Eve and played pickup out there this past, Christmas Eve. But yeah, I mean, those dual county league was the conference we were in. It's changed. So now my high school is too small, so they don't play against some of these bigger schools we played when I was coming up. They split the dual county league a little bit. So you're not playing 3,000 kid high school when we're that small suburb Weston going against a bigger athletic program. We were a little outmatched, and we struggled my senior year to get wins, but it was a really cool, valuable experience to be. And then I'm finally captain of the varsity team. We actually had a kid who went on to play at Harvard and Boston College and was a good college player, had a pro career in Spain. Andrew Van Nest, who lives in Miami now, successful VC, and he's a great guy, but he bailed on me my senior year. He left, which was the best thing he could have done for his career. So no shade there, but he went to the prep school, Northfield Mount Hermon. So there's a big program. They are notorious for sending guys to the Ivy League, and he didn't wait to do it prep year. He left senior year, so it was going to be me, him, and the other big as the returning varsity guys. He left us, so it was just me and one other big as returning varsity guys. And we had a transfer that was going to be like saving grace. So I know you're not asking about my high school basketball journey and what could have been, but our transfer is a great guy named Madison Maxwell. So Mad Max is the son of a NBA legend who did the radio for the Celtics.
Okay.
So that's why he was living in my hometown. Because he's, a local guy. He's a guy named Cornbread Maxwell. So Cornbread played for UNC Charlotte, took them to the Final Four, I think in the late 70s. Pretty sure he won Finals MVP in 1981 with the Celtics. So Cedric Maxwell is this very successful NBA player who's been doing a great job covering the Celtics on the radio for a long time. And Cornbread's son, Madison, moved up from North Carolina, moved in with his dad. So we had this opportunity to kind of replace Van Nest as a senior. We had a guy who could take the tip, bring the ball up. He kind of reminds me of Tyrese Rice in terms of how Madison plays. His dad was all finger rolls, 6'9". I don't know if you've seen Cedric on film.
I don't think so.
So Cornbread, to me, everyone talks about who's the greatest player to not make an all-star team. Rod Strickland has to be at the top of the list. And I think Cornbread's the only guy that rivals him.
Okay.
Like in terms of body work and, they're different players. But those are the two best NBA guys to not be all-stars. And Cornbread used to show us his highlight. His kid is a great guy. And I was in the video room for the Heat, and I ran into Cornbread, and it was like the last time I seen him. And it was happened to be his son's birthday. So it was a nice coincidence. So that's the last time I seen his son, too, because we FaceTime. But his kid was killing. And we're in fall league, and we're playing in this fall league with some teams in our division. There was a high school that won our division my senior year, and we're playing them in fall league up like 25. And on a transition dunk, they took out Madison's legs. They undercut him.
Oh.
He broke his wrist, and he missed the whole season until senior night. He played senior night, which was a great special night, and at least he got to do that. But I think Madison had he had that or a prep career, I think he could have been a legitimate professional basketball player, and we would have had a better year than we ended up having without him. But yeah, that's my days of what could have been.
And at what point did the transition of, okay, I may not have a shot at playing college at some level, and started thinking about coaching?
Yeah, that was early. Yeah, I was already, once I transferred to public school and was playing in a different set of competition, like with kids who were a lot better than me compared to being the best guy out there a lot of the time. I was disillusioned quickly early on, gratefully for that, because it helped me find that focus on wanting to be a coach. So I had that desire from an early age, from middle school all throughout high school. I was in the mindset of, I want to coach. I want to be a coach. So even as a high school player, I could have probably played at some Division III college somewhere. I had very limited recruitment, and I was meeting with coaches when I was, visiting colleges, and they, we got a walk-on spot for you here. I think it was like Haverford or Skidmore or one of them. I might have been able to play on the team.
Mm-hmm.
And these small liberal arts colleges, to me, didn't look as the best way to further my coaching career, even though obviously you have great Division III players who have become incredible coaches, and that is a track you can take. I didn't even think I had much of a shot to be a player at Division III either. So being a manager at Syracuse University, where I went to school and worked for the program there, was all out of that intent to be a coach. That was all, the purpose behind going there and working for the team there.
Yeah, and what was Syracuse like? You're obviously, working under a legend in Jim Boeheim and a great staff, and you're getting to learn. Like, that's probably just going to basketball 101 for 4 years. And
they got me for life. I'm realizing how diehard of a Cuse basketball fan I am. They got Jim Boeheim Day coming up to honor coach.
Nice.
I don't think I'll be able to make it back to campus for that, but I did get back there last year and catch his final win at the Dome.
That's
which
incredible.
Was really exciting. And it's cool because I've done everything there is to do in that building.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my first day in the Dome as a pure fan for Syracuse basketball. I've coached against them with the University of Miami. I've been with the program as a manager, and, we ran camps there. So that was nice for me to personally get to witness that in that way. And they did a great job honoring Jerry McNamara and Hakeem Warwick because they retired the numbers into the rafters after that. And it was a reunion of the 2003 national championship team. So Carmelo was there, all the guys from the 2003 team, even the managers, some great people involved with that 2003 team. So being back to Cuse last spring really brought back some fond memories because those days were the best, man. Those guys that I came in with at Syracuse, like my recruiting class, was Johnny Flynn, Rick Jackson, Scoop Jardine, Dante Green. So that was a very talented group. Rick and Scoop played together at Newman Goretti High School. Dante and Johnny were McDonald's All-Americans. But it was a talented group, and we didn't achieve much success as a team that year. We didn't make the tournament with all our individual talent. And the following year, we had a nice little run, and it was Johnny's final season, and we lost to Blake Griffin in the Sweet 16. So, it was a stark contrast between the success of those two teams, and some of those insights were really valuable to me. And then as it went on, my role increased as a manager, but Johnny had left, and those first 2 years, he was such a impactful guy in my experience, because when I got to campus, it wasn't like I knew Johnny Flynn was our best player. It was, hey, go to pickup, and this is the deal with the team. Like, Josh Wright's your starting point guard. Our best player is arguably this guy or that guy. Devendorf might have been our best player. Some Dante Green was considered our best freshman, and they took Johnny because he was close with Paul Harris. So Paul Harris and him are from Niagara Falls. Paul was like the top prep school recruit in the country after locking up OJ Mayo. and they got Paul and Johnny together. Like, Coach Hopkins, I think, was the main recruiter for Johnny and Paul. Coach Hopkins, who's at University of Washington now, as the head coach, Mike. So Mike was like running the bat. Boeheim does a great job with delineating his roles. Like, Coach Bernie Fine was in charge of the bigs. They had a guy named Rob Murphy, who used to be the head coach of Eastern Michigan. He worked for the Pistons for a little, who was the head, like assistant coach assigned to the wings. And then Hopkins had the guards. So like there would be, if we only had 2 baskets, we'd start with groups. One end is the bigs, one end is the guards, and Hop is running that end with the guards. So when I got down to his basket as a sophomore, because I was in the bigs basket as a freshman, that's where I started to gain an appreciation for like the development of Johnny and Hop more so. Even that freshman year, after practice, I was making a point to help them with their post work, like their post practice work.
Yeah.
But in groups, I was assigned to the bigs. So I learned a ton. And Coach Fine was there for years. And as a bigs coach for Boeheim, he actually has some great fundamentals, and he's worked with number 1 picks, Derek Coleman, Ronnie Cycli, some great successful NBA players. So he had a lot of his own wisdom. But Hop is a little bit more progressive, a little more high energy. So I'm a little immature at the time, and I was, more engaged at the guard basket. And I think it had to do with Johnny being there, because Johnny was at that first day of pickup so dominant, and I'm watching him play, and I'm like, man, this dude is legit, like out there competing with a mentality. I had never really seen somebody in person that good at basketball in that intimate setting. And, I'm 18 years old. It's like one of my first days on campus. It might have been my first day as a student. And they played at the old Manley Fieldhouse. And that's gone now. Now it's the Carmelo Anthony Center. Where that court is now like a turf field. So they don't even have the court down there anymore. But that's where Boeheim and them used to play their games.
Okay.
And Dave Bing and them. So it's a cool environment in there, and we're just playing, and it's just, the program. But yeah, I'll never forget that day. And just in general, like Johnny's approach to his own greatness was pure and sacred. He kept it. And I always tell the anecdote about rebounding for him, and it's the Carrier Dome. So they have football, they have lacrosse that uses that same space. So they have to take the court apart. So, Johnny's working out, but they have to transition. So he's not done. The court is gone. And they literally only have the tile at the top of the key and then the tile where the basket is. So I'm standing there under the rim, and he's just taking one dribble, pull up threes. He used to look down at the floor, kind of trying to get you to think he's driving and just raise, and he's left hand, right hand, just makes. And the gym is empty in terms of the other basketball players, or it's just guys they're working on the dome to convert it, get ready for the get the field down or open, get the court up and show the field. So, that's what's required for greatness. And he showed me that. So I'm very indebted to Johnny, and he had great success in his short time in the NBA.
Yeah.
I really do think he could have been a better pro had he stayed in the league and things gone a little different. But I was grateful I got to witness that. Like one of my fraternity brothers at Syracuse, Mikey Carosa, a great guy, took me to sit courtside at the worst 2 teams at the NBA at the time. So it was in the Meadowlands, and we went to, I think I was a senior in college. So no, I was a junior because it was Johnny's rookie year. So we went, sat courtside. It was Nets, T-Wolves in New Jersey. And Johnny had a really good game. He had Big Al Jefferson. I think he was on top 10 for a couple of his lay down passes to Al and some of his acrobatic lay-ins. And it was cool for me to have that experience, to see a guy I'd worked with playing in the NBA. Obviously I wasn't his primary trainer at any point in his career, but we had a dynamic, and he showed love that day, and he balled out that day. And, it was a surreal experience. But those Syracuse days, we all at that university love ball pretty much. That was what I gravitated to school to because of as well. The culture of Boeheim and Bing and those teams were so good. They're winning 50 plus games in a row. They had the NBA team, Syracuse Nationals, way, way back. That team leaves, and I feel like that fan base got displaced from that NBA team to this very successful college team. So when they moved to the Dome, now they had the ability to fill it, as we see today, 30 plus thousand for a regular season college game. That gives it a unique environment. And I could go on about Cuse Hoops all day. They actually, a good friend of mine from working Cuse camp in the summer, we laid 10 courts down in the Dome. There's a guy named Josh Winans. I talked to him yesterday. He runs the local TBL team, the Syracuse Stallions.
Okay.
And so, just the game in Syracuse is always going to have a unique place because of the way the community embraces it. And there isn't that much else there. Obviously, football has had McNabb and Harrison, some good players over the years, but they haven't had great success. And lacrosse has been a powerhouse, but for me, it's about the hoops there, and the community rallies around it. It's really special.
Yeah, what an incredible first coaching stop being under Boeheim and getting to witness, what it takes to be a top 10 pick with Johnny Flynn. What do you think the biggest takeaway for you during your time at Syracuse was?
Yeah, I mean, Boeheim and I are different philosophically, so like I was a little bit like unsure about myself because of how intense his approach is and how it's not diametrically opposed to mine, but it's different.
Mm-hmm.
And but the one single takeaway, I mean, coach like Coach Larinaga, they're both very good at focusing on executing their top priorities. And there was like this level of adversity I'd experienced with Boeheim, and I'm trying to think the one major thing I learned from my time there is the requirement of every day. It's greatness, right? Everyday thing. And that's more from Coach Hop than from anybody else. And, Hop would literally say that, right? Greatness is an everyday thing. But he embodied that. He lived it. He expected that of his players. So I'd show up to the Mello Center. I remember, I think it was either after we got eliminated when I was a senior, like we lost to Marquette and Jimmy Butler and those guys in the tournament. Maybe it was after the season my junior year. I don't know. But I remember I came to the facility one day. I was like in jeans and a T-shirt or something like that. And Coach Hop was like, "Oh, Aaron's not here to work today." And it was something that I was a person, who was still coming into my own as a basketball coach. But that level of commitment that I see is required to be an elite coach, an elite trainer, elite player. He called me out right in that moment, and that's just him being himself organically. And it wasn't like actually he was upset with me. He was just like, "Yo, why are you even in here? What are you even in here to do? You're not in here to be on the court and help these guys get better. So what are you doing here?" And that stuck with me for sure.
So after Syracuse, you're there for 4 years as a manager. And then where'd you end up?
Coach Fine ran into some problems and he lost his job. But right before that happened, he got me a job. So it was all Bernie, really. That off season, I was messing with some other coaches and I didn't get to a place where I had interest in any of these interviews I took, or they had interest in me even.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't going to be a graduate assistant for anybody because I actually hadn't finished my degree. So I still had to finish my undergraduate degree because I was a couple credits shy. So I remember I did that through LSU's distance learning. So as a Division III assistant, I was still finishing my undergraduate degree. But Bernie hooked me up with a guy that I referenced, ran court at Lycoming, and his and I dynamic was strong, and his references were strong. Like everybody was like, "You'd be a fool not to go work for this guy." And fortunately, Bernie really leaned on him and made it clear to him that I was the worthy person, a worthy candidate. And we had an informal interview. I mean, formal interview, but it wasn't in person.
Okay.
And then I came up and did my in person, but that point, it was already like, okay, you got the job. Just come get a feel for it. And I remember I'm getting my stuff in the car. I'm driving from Massachusetts. It's about a 7-hour drive from my home to where the Little League World Series is, where that college is in central PA. And there was a flood. It was crazy. Freak flooding. So the Susquehanna River was overflowing, and Williamsport, Pennsylvania is right on the Susquehanna River, but it's kind of elevated. So you couldn't even get access to Williamsport. So I had to reroute. I ended up going back to Cuse. It was like I could go to the city in New York or I could go to Cuse. And I went to Cuse for a couple of days to stay dry. And they were closing roads behind me and everything. So Rancourt and I were laughing maybe you're not meant to take this job. What is God telling you? But fortunately, I ended up there for 2 seasons. And Rancourt was is still today an amazing mentor to me. He does an incredible job, and I had aspirations to continue coaching, and he was the one who made that next opportunity for me happen. And he's someone who, while working for him, he made me a better coach, and we had success. We never made the NCAA tournament. Division III is hard. You don't get an automatic bid. I mean, an at-large bid as easily. So we never got those auto bids in our conference. We had a very good league, in my opinion, for that level, like a high major Division III. And we lost in the conference championship or the conference semis, both of my years. And I know we at least got there once. Yeah, I think we lost in the semis my second year. But, we lost to some very high-level teams, and we had a great group of players that I'm still in touch with some of those guys, and I loved coaching that group. And I was, finding my footing in the player development space. I was very, very new to having ownership of any of that. We had limited resources, so I had to, wear a lot of hats, which helped. Having the opportunity to work with the guys in the classroom and keeping them academically eligible. There's tons of value there. That's obvious, but also, they know you care about them. Like I made some mistakes in my times at Lycoming, and that was a great place to do that. A great place to make some of those mistakes because they didn't stick with me in a way that I couldn't overcome it. They just taught me what I should or should not be doing and how to move from there. And it also, showed me how to be a better coach the next opportunity I had.
What were some of those mistakes?
What were some of those mistakes?
Yeah.
I mean, some of them were more egregious than others, but, it was like the want to help, but not knowing that I'm doing it either an enabling way or just ineffective. Like even when it came to the academics, I would try to kind of overstep, you know what I mean? As opposed to allowing somebody to show, hey, I can do this much myself. I look at Coach Caputo as someone that Rancourt grew up with. So he's the head coach of George Washington now. And Chris Caputo was the associate head coach at University of Miami before that, and he was assistant coach in Miami. And that's how I got to UM, because Rancourt and Caputo grew up in Queens together. And they all went to Archbishop Malloy and played for the same legendary, rest in peace, Coach Curran, who coached Rush Smith and Coach Larinaga at Malloy. So Curran was the baseball and basketball coach there for like 4 decades.
Wow.
And Caputo always talks about internal motivation, right? Like, not just like, I always think about like it overlaps with like almost self-worth and intrinsic self-worth. There's a similar principle here. But the idea of like guys who work out with music or, the crowd at home, you play better. Like these are external factors, right? Those aren't internally motivated players that are, only responding to those things. You got to be from here. That's where the most sustainable success will come. And I genuinely believe in that. And that was something that I didn't fully understand at the time, right? I'm just trying to do everything possible to set this guy up for success. And even some of those actions were enabling the exact thing I was trying to him work towards.
Okay. So then after that spot, you ended up at Miami?
Right. I was a graduate assistant for the program at UM and got my master's in turn for working for the team. And it was a great experience. We had an amazing group of players and coaches and had some success during those years. And it was fun getting to move to Miami as an adult after being in the middle of nowhere, PA, for a couple years, so to speak. And that was a sharp contrast and had a lot of fun being a GA, because your life as a GA is, there are challenges. It's busy, but your responsibilities are all very fun and you're always on the court. And, it was a great, great time. And I made some, lifelong friendships with those players and other coaches and support staff, and, fell in love with that city too, and stayed there for almost a decade, after that, even though I left the U and left the Heat after, because, I was with the U, and fortunate while being there that some guys got some head coaches jobs, and I might have been able to leave and be an assistant coach or an ops guy at other Division I programs because our staff was having that success. But I stayed on, and those guys got me into the Heat video room, which obviously was a dream come true, being able to work for the NBA team. And and I was still staying in Miami, and those years in the video room were extremely valuable, but in a different way, right? I wasn't on the court as much and gain some different skill sets with the game, and even just that perspective you get from constantly watching that amount of film. And obviously the Heat video room is notorious, and there's, I think it's good cause. I do think it's the holy grail of NBA video gurus, so to speak. And my time at the U really prepared me to do the job for the Heat well. It's like, that progression was real. And when I got to the GA spot at Miami, I was very motivated and very locked into our success. And those guys looked out for me as a result. Not just Caputo, but Coach Larinaga and Huger and Coach Conkle and that whole staff. Our ops guy at the time is now the head coach at Temple, Adam Fisher, and he's got Huger on his staff. Conkle's at Tulsa. He's bounced around a little bit. He was at Louisiana Tech. Huger was at Bowling Green. And now Caputo, like I said, is at GW. So Larinaga's new staff is great. He's got Bill Courtney, DJ Irving, Coty. These guys over there do a great job. But it's cool to see just how that program is. And like I said about Syracuse, I've grown affinity for that team. The other day, Cordeer Copeland hit this buzzer beater to beat Miami at the Dome. And I'm sitting there, that's, to me, I joke around, that's the Winshall Bowl, because, it's my two programs I have degrees from and I got to work with. And, I'll forever be connected to both of them. I have a bench chair from back in the day for both programs. And, those are like some of my most prized possessions.
Nice. That's cool. Yeah, it's a cool piece of memorabilia. Your time with the Heat, what was that like, and what were some of your roles and responsibilities? Obviously, like you said, you weren't on the court as much, being in the video room, and that video room is notorious. As most people know, Spoelstra came from there, and that's a big job. What was that like going from college to the NBA?
Yeah, it's a really cool experience. I mean, the value is still paying dividends to this day, just strictly from an educational perspective. So I call it a PhD in basketball that it really served me in that sense. And just witnessing how those guys function. It's a real family over there. Coach Riley sets it, and it trickles down with Spo and through the rest of the organization. And it was really special to have those years working with that team. Probably my favorite thing I've ever been a part of as a coach is being able to be on the staff when they started the season 10-31. We had Dion Waiters and those guys, that era. The year when D-Wade was in Chicago.
Okay.
And it was just incredible because they finished the year 31-10 after starting 10-31. So to have a 500 record for a team that was, 21 games below 500 at the midway point was a testament to that group. Rodney Magruder was a player on that team who made that team as one of the final roster spots. And he's a guy that just embodies mental toughness and consistency. And he worked closely with who was the video coordinator at the time, Eric Glass, who's now player development. So EG is a Cali guy who hired me in the video room at the time. He was running the video room. It was his decision along with Coach Riley, Spo, and Andy as well, Ellsberg, the GM. And, thank you to those guys because they're so loyal to each other. They're so, intense with their work. You have no other way you're going to be when you're there. And then, there is a family that you're in by being with the Heat organization. And you've seen all the culture talk, and there is a virtue to what they're doing.
Yeah.
There's great success there for good reason. And it's unique in some of the ways Spoelstra carries himself. Like you said it, Spo was in the video room, right? So he acknowledges the power of that room and he maximizes that. And he gives you a lot of autonomy with how you move. So you get ownership of things, and there's so much to do and really challenge you and you test you to get better. So, let alone what I learned about basketball, but I just learned how to do so many different things. And it was a great test of my own self-discipline and my work ethic, and it helped build some of that. Spo isn't the only person in the organization that came up through the video room, right? You have so many people from Eric Amsler, who's in the front office, to Adam Simon, who's in the front office, to, coaches like Eric Glass. And now their head video coordinator is Mario Casamajor, who's excellent to me, a great human being who really understands the values of basketball and is a great basketball mind. And we used to work together in pre-draft a little bit before he got to the Heat. So, it's cool for me to see it on the inside And then now after leaving, see, you know, I have a trust in them because of the bias, but, you know, they've had great success since I left. And, you know, my year of us going 500 and not making the playoffs was an amazing achievement to witness. And we had Dwayne my first year, and then he left, and then he came back. So even like the city responding to him, I felt as a coaching staff, it was like, okay, we moved on. We figured out how to not have him anymore. But the heat in the city never was going to move on for him. So when he came back, it was like, wow. And it was cool to see that intimately a little bit. You know, he's got egos in the locker room that might have been challenged, and his wisdom and his voice was so valued and respected. You know, obviously he'd been through it. He had the experience, he had the championships, but, you know, he was selective in what he said. And, you know, as a result, people made a point to listen every time he spoke up too. And we had Juwan Howard, Fizdale, Dan Craig. We had an amazing coaching staff, and learning up close from those guys. It's Chris Quinn is still there too. And he was in there as much as the video guy. Like, he's in there as much as Coach Spoelstra, because we had to be there anytime Spo was in there. They wanted us there. But Spo, I mean, even how he treats like Christmas, he gives everybody a book with a letter.
Wow.
It's you know, it's cool. It's intentional, and it carries something with it. We had a staff retreat and things leading into training camp, and those things were done with a purpose that, to me, I'm sure other NBA teams are doing at that level. But those are the ones that I think separate themselves and create kind of competitive advantages. And, you know, Coach Riley's not playing around. Like, he wants to win, but Spo has put his own feel and twist on it, and it's not any less intense. It's just he's got his focus where it lies, and, you know, the tropes that he gets excited about and involved with, you know, were fascinating. And he's working with his horse blinders on, trying to get ready for this. I mean, it might be free agency, it might be in the summer during the summer league, and it's like Game 7 NBA Finals intensity.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what's required for greatness, and it was really valuable for me to be around that and close to that, and I'm forever indebted to that organization for that opportunity.
Yeah, it's a beautiful marriage between Spo and Pat Riley and what they've done. And as much as people joke about the Heat culture, you could be the first to attest it's definitely a real thing. You have any Spoelstra or Pat Riley stories you could share?
Yeah, it's not for everybody. They talk about that. I mean, I don't have too much entertain. Like, you know, I've done some embarrassing things in my days as a manager and as an assistant coach. But in the video room, you know, I was just locked into. Like I said, I was very, very rarely on the court, especially in the beginning.
Yeah,
I didn't go on the road in the beginning. I thought it was pretty funny because one of the other video guys used to tell me, like, people walk in the video room, you're not supposed to react. I'm a social being. I interact, I engage people. So that was against my instinct. Like, if someone walks in my office, I would at least say hello and get back to work. But they specifically had, one of my coworkers was like, no, that's not, you know, he was like a superior. So he was like, you could just use the reflection of the monitor right here in the top corner. You could see who it is, get back if you needed to find out who it is. And it was whatever. So I had that in my head. And I'm in the video room by myself. And it was when Gordon Hayward was free agent. So they're recruiting Hayward. We were one of the candidates, but everybody was at Summer League. I think Chris Quinn and him had the same agent. So they had Chris stay back and help with the recruitment. Obviously, we didn't get him.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, he went to Charlotte. But we thought he was going to Boston, I think because of Stevens' connection, you know, from college and things like that. So I'm sitting at my desk working, and everybody's gone. And in comes Gordon with Coach Spo and Coach Riley. And they're touring him around the facility. So I'm thinking, oh, I better ignore these guys. You know what I mean? Stick to what I'm taught. Be that robot on the computer. So apparently, Spo thought I was nervous. And he's going back, and him and Pat are laughing because they were like, oh, Aaron was nervous. He didn't even want to say hi when us and Gordon walked in the gym. Walked in the video room. So I think they made me spin around in my chair and introduce myself. But I remember thinking in my head, like, I would have been happy to schmooze you guys and welcome Gordon. Yeah. You know what I mean? But I was just trying to do by the book, trying to keep my boss proud, so to speak, or my coworkers proud. But instead, Spo thought I was anxious. I don't know. There's some funny stories. Just the dynamic between them was beautiful. I saw a quote from Spo talking about how they were on a losing streak his first year with the big three.
Mm-hmm.
And Pat one day just sat him down, and it was like in the middle of that losing streak, and they just sat there, and Pat didn't say anything, and they just drank wine together. So like Pat had that feel of what was he'd been through it.
Yeah.
So I mean, we lose to the Sixers, and that time I was on the road. We're playing Philly. Whiteside, I think he ran into the locker room. Something, he was sick or something. Like, I don't know if it was because he was trying to guard Embiid. I don't remember, but they were up big. They had us on the ropes, and I think we came back crazy in the fourth quarter and still lost a close game. So like we didn't really start playing till the fourth quarter. Spo's like, he's going through it, and I feel like he was inclined to maybe come down on them. You know, obviously you're selective. You know, sometimes after a loss you might not want you know, hey, we did our best or whatever. But it was kind of like, hey, we didn't come to play. Had we come to play those first three quarters, we could have won the game. I don't know where his mind was, obviously, but I'm in there cutting the game up, and I just rare opportunity to hear and see the interaction between him and Pat. And Coach Riley was the one to kind of put him at ease, like, hey, you don't need to rip into these guys.
Wow.
They just want, you know, they gave that comeback. You know, he didn't say that specifically, but you could tell he helped Coach Spo calm down and know the best way to push which button. So they're, you know, they're both masterminds in their own ways, but they have such a great dynamic that it helps them get more out of each other. And Pat's experience, you know, nobody can mirror what he's been through. And to have that so close and have that ability for Pat to read Spo and vice versa, I think really plays into their greatness as an organization.
Yeah, definitely. What was the decision like to leave the Heat? So next year, moving on, and obviously, you know, working for Miami Heat, that's a dream job for a lot of people. And you talked about a lot of people who have worked there and started in the video room, climbing the ranks. So what was the decision like to leave?
Yeah, that was not an easy one, you know, and it's something at times during my first couple of years there, even my final year there, I believed that I would be there forever, you know, like others who had become the wallpaper. That was their job. It's rare to find stability working in the NBA like that. And that's a great thing. They have a process-oriented place, and they are somewhere I was willing to, you know, commit my career to being there because it made sense to me, and I felt it was in line with who I am. So to leave was not easy and unexpected, essentially, for me. If you know, asked myself when I just got that job, but it was the right thing to do. And I talk about it as like a side street to success, right? We don't have that direct path on our marathons we're all each individually on necessarily. So I'm very grateful I was willing and able to leave something that, you know, it wasn't a soul crushing job, but you spend, you know, I would have been in that video room 4, 5, 6 years probably. I'd still probably be in that video room. And the experiences I've had since then, you know, are ones I couldn't have had. So it's, you know, it's that trade-off is tough. Like I would bike in to work, Spo would be like, okay, Lance. But it was nice. You could see you could be outside. You could be in the nature. I'd see the sunrise, and then I'm going into the video room and I'm coming out in darkness.
Yeah.
Right. So that isn't something that was a surprise. I knew that comes with the territory. That's part of what it was. But those are things that now I don't have to be succumbed to anymore, living in sunny Southern California. But no, in all seriousness, it was something that it hurt because I felt I was letting down people like Eric Glass, like Coach Spoelstra. And that's where it was the biggest challenge because they had done so much for me and had been there for me. And I thought were, you know, willing to keep me around. And they were. There was opportunity for me to stay there. And you know, that's not lost on me. And like Caputo talked about it because he could sense I was on my way out and he kind of trying to talk me down. And he's like, you know, guys would kill to be in that position, right? Trying to gain your perspective on the things that were challenging me and making me decide I wanted to leave, which was multifaceted, right? It was more complex than just this one thing or the other. So ultimately to leave in the way that I did because it was sudden, was where I really felt bad for those guys who had given me that opportunity because I didn't want to hurt them by not being there for them anymore, you know? But beyond that, I had to do what was best for me and everything I'm into. And it was clearly the best decision I've made in my career, honestly. And it's something that I didn't think that I had. I'm being honest with you, it was tough.
Yeah.
But in the moment, I was like, oh no, whatever. Like trying to not be vulnerable about those realities. But I've come to terms with those realities, and it's interesting that that's the choice I made, and I would still make that same choice today. I'm surprised. I surprised the 2015, 2016 childhood version of myself to make that decision. But I got very fortunate because I left at the time I did. I think it really leveled up my coaching career, and being in Miami, working in player development, I was able to take a lot of that knowledge from the Heat that I gained and apply it. And it was very effective for me in that space of pre-draft and other ways I've been able to stay around the game at a high level since leaving.
And training and pre-draft is what you went into after being with the Heat?
Well, I mean, that coach Nick I was talking about, who's with the Hornets, he was doing his pre-draft in Miami at the time. So it was nice to just have a gym to be around on a daily basis right away. And we'd always talked about doing that when we were together at the UM. So then it made an opportunity for me to work in that space with him. He calls it the preparation. That's what his LLC is for that at the time. And they had done an amazing job for a number of years. So it was in the groove of the preparation in Miami. So it was something that I loved being around. And then from there, Nick went to the NBA, and I got to work in pre-draft with Miami Hoop School. Andrew Moran was another local Miami trainer. He was the head high school coach for Cameron and Carlos Boozer's team at Columbus with Jax Richardson and Jace Richardson and some other great young high school players. And that was all like something wouldn't have been possible, you know what I mean, had I not had the opportunity to work in pre-draft with Nick. So it's just one opportunity leads to the next, and they were the right guys to align with. And that pre-draft stuff is so much fun. It's something you really cherish as a person who's about real development. And I make the analogy when I was in the video room for the Heat. Yeah, at that point at the end, I was still not working guys out, but I would be, helping Juwan Howard with workouts or helping rebound in spots or on the road, during shoot around. But it wasn't like these players' development is up to you, Aaron, ever. No one's, maybe, actually we signed Derrick Jones Jr. I was around, so I was the first one to get him in the gym. And I actually had a little bit of a prior relationship with Derrick, but like Spo just needed somebody to work him out, and the team was on the road. Or Chris Bosh having his blood thing cause him to not be on the court. So he still needed to, it wasn't like he had been shut down yet, but he couldn't do contact. So he's trying to stay in shape. Eric and Bill Ferran run the strength conditioning for the Heat. So Bill's like calling me like, hey, CB wants to get on the court. Obviously, working with a Hall of Famer in a one-on-one setting like that, I'm learning more from him. He's dictating more of what we should be doing. I mean, he would be great and be like, Aaron, what do you want to do? But, I learned from those settings, but it was, like I said, few and far between. So the analogy I was going to make is a dog that like works or lives at a butchery, the best butchery in the city, in the world, but he can't touch any of the meat. So then I go to pre-draft, and now it's like I'm unleashed. I'm able to just get on the court and engage these guys. I'm not limited to doing video, but I would incorporate the video, and obviously I still do with my training and my player development. It's a huge, huge piece to doing that. I think the best way possible for especially an NBA athlete, and the level of approach to that level. I think video is even more valuable than a high school athlete. But you can still obviously find it for anybody you're working with. The pre-draft days in Miami are like the glory days of pre-draft for me, because we just were at this newly built facility in the city. It was built with city money in Overtown at Gibson Park, and it's a great facility with the Overtown Youth Center and Optimus next door to the Overtown Youth Center, which is Alonzo Mourning's facility.
Okay.
And the Overtown Optimus Club operates out of there, and they do great things for the kids in the community there. But it's an amazing gym, and it was new to Miami, and it's just there's a energy that comes from walking around that neighborhood at 6 a.m. and 5, 6, 7 days a week, And, that being coming to work is crazy. And you're working with these guys that, are great athletes. Fortunately for me that, I didn't have any negative experiences there. Like even, guys you bump heads with who really care about getting better, they, they're not a knucklehead. You're gaining something from that experience, and they are too. So, I mean, I really still to this day love pre-draft. I worked in pre-draft out here since I've been out here as well. And, I'm going to continue to stay in that space. It kind of became a little bit of a niche. Once I left the team side, that's kind of how it felt like, okay, my season is now pre-draft. My season is, and my team is this class. So for the last, since I left the Heat in 2018.
Okay.
So, 2018, 19 till, all the way up and through this last draft, I felt that's kind of how I've filled the void of being a coach for a team. But I'm open to doing that. But my work with Haiti does make it challenging. So it's a balance. And I was coaching high school in Miami a little, but being in Cali, it's not something I've jumped on with any programs yet in terms of college or pro or high school teams or even elementary, middle school. I'm devoted to the work I have now. And like, it takes me all over the world with the Haitian national team a little bit. So like we'll be in Indianapolis for All-Star break next month. We were in Puerto Rico last month for the FIBA 3-on-3 America. And obviously these are all during the dog days of the season. So it's cool to look back on that progression because, as a college coach, your season is all year, and same with NBA. It's a year-round thing to be, working with that team, and it consumes you year-round. And for better, that's how it should be. So it's definitely opened up some more opportunity for me to act on my own prerogative with the work I'm doing since leaving the team side.
Yeah, I want to get into the Haitian basketball stuff. I know that in Miami is where you started to get into the Haitian culture and the Haitian basketball culture, right?
Yeah, it was being with the Heat. It was when I first became aware of the national team movement through Coach Nick and his boys getting hired as the national team head coaches for Haiti as they were trying to start that program really after very limited play. I think they had a tournament in the late 70s. Like there was Central Basket. I think it was in Puerto Rico. They participated, didn't win. So when I got involved in 2017, there was a tournament we were going to play in 2018 that was like ending that 37-year absence of FIBA play for Haiti.
Wow.
So that was the ambition that I got hooked into. And it was a narrative change project for the country through this success of a national team. That was how it was pitched to me. And the coaches that were hired for the national team went to Haiti. Nick was one of those coaches, and he really was the centerpiece to that group that got those other guys involved because it was all his people from the Rio Grande Valley Vipers where he was coaching at the time. So their head coach at the time, Matt Brazzi, him, a guy named Cody Toppert, who's now also head coach in the G for the Go-Go. They went to Haiti. And this was a year after Nerlens Noel went to Haiti. So there's a guy, Pierre Valmera, who runs Power Forward International for a long time that was bringing players out of Haiti. Scala Bissier is one of them. Obviously, Scala had great success and continues to as he's in the G League now. And that guy is based in Massachusetts, and Nick and I had some overlap with him. So essentially that was the thread. So Nerlens does a camp in 2016. Nerlens' parents are from Haiti. And Nerlens is so impressed. I guess he jumped in with the kids. It was like a U19 identification camp for the national team. The federation's leadership was, responsible for it. And they did a second one in June of 2017. So that second camp, Nick and those guys went, and then I was aware of that. So that was my way I got exposed to it. But I was still in the Heat video room. We didn't look at it anything more than coaching the national team at the time. But over the course of that year, getting ready for that tournament, it became clear there's opportunity to do more with basketball, obviously, and there's missed opportunities because organizationally we weren't as the Haitian Basketball Federation isn't where it is today, and there were other challenges, just limited resources. So that's when through the request of the Haitian Basketball Federation, I formed this entity that I am working with and running today with them and other entities in Haiti, which is called the Haiti Basketball Foundation. So that was, kind of our group of national team coaches collectively and the federation. Hey, we need to prepare for this tournament coming up, and we need to find maybe we can raise some tax deductible money. But it was kind of like I backed into it in that sense because, we formed this team and we formed this organization, but obviously to do it justice, it's not just about that one men's national team. It's about the whole national team program.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, the ambitions behind that are about helping the people of Haiti, whether they're great basketball players or not. It's just helping everybody. So finding a way now to do this right, and it takes time and educating myself, not aware of the intricacies, and I'm still continuing to learn more about them, the challenges in Haiti that are specific to Haiti and the systemic issues there, but also just transitioning from being only a basketball coach, of course. So it's been a really amazing journey. I'm really grateful that I have the opportunity to work with the Haitian Basketball Federation and my other grassroots partners in Haiti. And that's going to be a lifelong project, and hopefully sooner rather than later, you're seeing that national team suiting up again. And, ideally we're playing in the Olympics in LA in 2028. But, the movement with basketball in Haiti is a really special one. And to me, it is the most powerful example of sport for good in the entire world. And I say that with bias, but I say that with genuine honesty. And, I'm biased to the power of basketball, and I'm biased to the beauty of Haiti. So maybe I'm, coming up with it from that. But all I see, and the more I learn, the more it legitimates that truth to me.
Wow. So what are some of the things you guys are doing with the foundation? What's the goal, and what's kind of the basketball work? And are you guys going over there a lot, or what does exactly the foundation entail?
Yeah, so the focus is the work with the national teams and supporting the national teams, supporting the federation, and as well as grassroots in the country. So
Okay.
the grassroots work has to do with resource, basketballs, facilities, coaching. So yeah, I do go as much as I can. I love going there. But it's not somewhere I've been recently. I haven't been since last year.
Okay.
And I've been a handful of times, but it's daily on WhatsApp with the people in Haiti that I'm working with. And for me, I have to raise money to be able to add value. So it's an education and healthcare project when we are successful at our goals. But right now, our resource isn't there where we're able to pay for kids' tuition. And, we're funding camps when we go, and we're making donations to the community when we go, or even sending donations, separate. And when we go, we host a camp and feed the kids. And, I'm vetting different grassroots programs across the country so that I'm able to engage the entire landscape. The federation is so concentrated with its chapter in Port-au-Prince. That's the most active chapter, the one in the capital.
Okay.
But that's actually where it's most difficult right now to make an impact because of the challenges and the tense environment in the streets of Port-au-Prince right now. I haven't been to Port-au-Prince myself since 2019. The last 4 times I've gone to Haiti, I've flown or gone directly into the north. So Cape Haitian and that surrounding area. And it's going to be something that, it's going to require more than the work we're doing with basketball, but we have an opportunity with basketball to fill voids of, creating this pathway with the national teams and great success for high level players. But also, if a kid doesn't love basketball, but can go get fed and have a constructive extracurricular activity, there's benefits to that. I think the best grassroots basketball youth program in Haiti is run by a guy named Dave Filzami, and it's in Martissant and City Soleil, 2 of the more difficult areas of the country. And he's able to feed and educate these kids through his basketball program. And it's amazing. I mean, they're giving kids money to do book reports, and they're giving kids tutors who aren't getting their GPA high enough to get the minimum GPA to get a tuition paid for by their program. So
Wow.
if you're not, you know what I mean? So like, that's one example of someone we've supported in a couple of different ways and work closely with as much as possible. But he's doing so much for those two communities. The goal, if we're successful down the line, is emulating the work he's doing in Martissant and City Soleil all across the country. And then, obviously, like I'm saying, this element of the national teams is a great, exciting element, and the people of Haiti really rally behind their team and have such pride in that national team that I do think it's just as important to the mission as, you know, feeding these kids, because I think they serve each other. I think there is a synergy to that. The success of the men's and women's national teams is going to have impact beyond the game that is in, you know, you can't put a price on that. So it's day to day raising money, you know, figuring out, because we're kind of building the plane as we fly. There's a new precedent here that we're setting. So, you know, it takes different forms. Fortunately, FIBA has built this Basketball for Good, you know, campaign and movement. So they've been great supporters. They've donated basketballs to Haiti. Then there's the other people who are in Haiti doing great work with limited resources. So like guys similar to Dave Fields and me in areas where they don't have as much at their disposal are doing everything they can for these kids. So there's a guy in Saint Michel, which is a more rural area and a little bit more difficult to access. So I've only been there once, but he's a guy who I met in 2018, and he stayed in touch with me and kept me aware of the activities with the game in his local community. So witnessing that was in the spring of 2022. Seeing that firsthand was amazing, because it's something that proves that, okay, it's alchemic working with him. You know, whatever we're able to do for him is going to go where we're being told it's going, and it's going to benefit these kids in ways that they need and are, you know, imperative to their functioning. So it's very impressive, the different pockets and the different grassroots entities besides the federation chapters alone that are working with the game over there. And I want to be a financial arm to them. I want to be a capacity builder for them and the federation.
That's
Yeah, I know
incredible.
it's a long-winded answer. That could have been a little more clear, but it's, you know, it's something to me that for basketball people, we get the value of the game.
Mm-hmm.
It's obvious what this game can do for a place that has need, which we everywhere, the United States, and domestically, we have plenty of examples of it. But in Haiti specifically, I believe that the lack of resource of the game hasn't, I see it firsthand. You witness it. It hasn't depleted the culture. The culture and the movement for basketball exists despite the lack of resource. So if we can even give it limited resources compared to where it is now, it can really go a long way. But the whole thing has to be with the vision of self-sustaining in mind, right? So that's why I love working with these community-based organizations, because they can become self-sustaining and they can take on their own life and move in a way that I can't impact it directly like they could.
That's
So, you know, teach a man to fish type vibe.
yeah.
We've done coaching seminars. We work with youth when we go, but it's something, you know, I want a utility fund to help the diaspora as well. I want to be able to help Haitian basketball people that are here in the States and around the world. But for now, and the majority of our focus is in the country, grassroots there, not, you know, like Power Forward International I've referenced, brought kids and got them educated here in the States. That's a great thing, great opportunities for them, but that isn't really the mold of our organization. The work we do internationally has to do with supporting the national teams.
That's an amazing foundation. I mean, I know for me and a lot of people in the States, basketball is, you just picture it where you are, you know, the high school journey to D1 to I got to get to the NBA or pro somehow. And then you see it in other areas and you see the tools it can be and what it can create for other people's well-being, education, whatever the case may be. That sounds like an amazing foundation. And at the end, we'll definitely get the links out and, hopefully be able to spread the message, because that sounds,
Thank you, Spence. No,
yeah,
I appreciate it.
yeah, that sounds like
It's
great,
something,
fulfilling work.
they have done a great job with the Haitian Basketball Federation's growth and consistency and stability since I got involved. And those guys, I can't even imagine the challenges they face, and they're still making it happen. So it's an honor to be a part of it. And for me, it's like, if we can shift away from survival instinct and shift towards purpose, right? Purpose driven. And even if you don't know what your purpose is, you're now relentless pursuit of figuring out what that is.
Mm-hmm.
So that's in every aspect of what we're doing, that feeds into the work. So, with Haiti, the people I've connected with that are doing great work in the country have really helped me understand how we can do that with basketball there as well. And it's not easy, and it has to be Haitian run, Haitian led for it to be as successful as it possibly can be. So, I'm excited to see where this leads, and, what we've accomplished so far is a great success to me, but I know that there's more that we can do and will do with this.
Speaking of finding your purpose, do you think that your work with the Haitian Basketball Foundation is your purpose?
I mean, working with the game in general, this is something I'm very lucky that it's very at the forefront of the work, like the social good that comes out of it, the social justice element of the work in Haiti. But I mean, my purpose is working with the game in general. So yeah, it's teaching a kid here in LA, and it's also being able to get a basketball shipped over there for a kid over there. It's all in line with what I see as my purpose. And, that's what the game is about. It's about helping other people. And it's about, it's a conduit for that. It's a vehicle for social change in Haiti. It's a vehicle for social change here. But, I'm not as tangibly involved in that here, besides, training players and having the impact that we do as a coach in that way, which is obviously, to me, something I take great pride in. And I think there's a lot of multidimensional aspects to that make it something that is part of my purpose as well.
Is there a decision you had to make, or a sacrifice you have to make to be living that purpose? Or is there a difficult decision you've had to make to stay in that?
I mean, even like we talked about, the sacrifice of leaving the video room, that was a sacrifice I had to make to step into that purpose and see that through. And just in general, like, we always have to make some level of sacrifice to, make sure that this is what it's supposed to be, because it is about service at the end of the day. And, I don't pay myself a salary through Haiti Basketball Foundation. And that's something that, is because we don't raise enough money and everything goes back into it. But obviously there are different levels to what that could look like. But that's not to say that if I'm making a salary out of basketball, that's no longer my purpose. It's just, I have to find a way for the game to sustain me as well. So
yeah, that's the challenge.
Figuring out that balance. Yeah, that balance is real. And, that's not what the Haiti Foundation is a source of at all, right? And there are people who run nonprofits and pay themselves a six-figure salary. Well, if we're raising 8, 9, 10 figures annually, then yes, somebody's definitely going to be on salary. And, that's a great goal to have for Haiti basketball. But, for me, I'm intrigued to see what the next chapter of my coaching career looks like, and I'm excited to, speak to you today, because it helps me acknowledge that it's time for me to create something that is mine outside of Haiti basketball, because that's not mine and never was. I just am fortunate enough to be involved in the ways that I am. So yeah, I'm intrigued to see what, that chapter of my coaching career looks like, because that's kind of what's next, whether it's my boy has the preparation, everyone has their basketball businesses. What my version of that's going to be is currently in motion, but, still got some work to do.
Yeah, that's a perfect segue into my next question, which is what's next for Aaron Winshall? Do you have any, like you said, you have something in motion? Is it coaching? Is it training? Is it pre-draft? Is there a certain timeline you want to be doing something by? I know when did you move to LA?
Less than 2 years ago.
Okay, so you recently out here in SoCal, new basketball scene for you. So yeah, what's
Yeah,
on the
seeing is
horizon?
great. Like I been grateful that since I got here, I've been able to interact with the grassroots basketball community here and gain a feel for it. And I think there is going to be something within that landscape that I'm a part of more so than I am today. But it's unclear exactly what that will be. As I said, I have this event at All-Star Break in Indy coming up next month, so a lot of focus on that. We're really excited. We're going to do a local clinic with Haitian youth in Indianapolis, and we're holding an event that evening to raise awareness and some funds for the Haitian national, basketball teams and grassroots programs in Haiti. And for me, as I said, pre-draft's coming up, so yeah, definitely getting excited for that window. But I was over at the G League game for the South Bay Lakers and the Stockton Kings to go watch Scal play a couple of days ago, and there's a sense of community that's starting to be established here as well. It's never going to be like it was in Miami, but it'll be its own version of itself, and it's going to take time as it is to figure out what that's going to be. But there's so many people doing such great work with the game here. I'm happier to be here than ever, and there are guys that I've interacted with, people who are working in basketball here since I got here, that have been very impressive to see what they're doing. And I want to be able to add value to an already thriving grassroots basketball community here. So obviously I'm excited to start and continue working with youth, college, and pro players in this area. But yeah, I have to keep certain things closer to the vest, right? There's nothing too exciting to share anyways, but I got to keep certain things secret for now. But I have ended up in a place I never expected, right? So I'm sure that that's coming for me as well. And we'll see what pre-draft looks like this year, and we'll see what people I align with. But it's been really cool to see the organism of basketball in Southern California and Northern California since coming here, because it's so strong and it's not by accident and it's pure to the game. So in due time, I'll be able to answer, episode 2.
Yeah.
I hope I got a better answer for you on that, Spence.
No, I appreciate that. I'm excited to see, what's next for you. And yeah, like you said, you're in a great spot, a lot of opportunity, and SoCal basketball is great. When I ask you to think of a basketball memory from playing, coaching, training, what's the first memory that comes to mind?
Ooh. Yeah, I guess a lot of things are coming through at once, but the first thought I had was just an idea of Haiti basketball, because we were on the topic. So there's a small town called Tigouave, or Petit Gauve. So like small grove is what it stands for. And it's like 2-3 hours from the capital of Haiti. And my first time in Haiti, I got to go visit there as a guy, Coach Justin Burnett, guy who's got a couple good players in the States now from Haiti. And Coach Justin took me to this town where one of those kids was from. And Tigouave is in the mountains by the water. And there was a game. They play a game every year on the same day because there was a horrible accident. Some power lines had fallen and they had killed a lot of people. So it was on the court where that took place. So every year, the day of that tragedy, they play a game in this town.
Wow.
To commemorate those people. And we had just finished up this youth clinic at another part of the city, somewhere else in Tigouave. And we go over to this game. And the environment is really cool. The court is fenced in. You have that view of the water and those mountains. And it's a party, and it's just something that was beautiful to get to see. And they actually let me wear a uni and sit on a bench. So like my team was down. We got this lefty guard, James, who has since moved to the States, who was bringing the ball up for them. And I'm thinking, let me in the game, you know, and they still weren't trying to play me. And this guy, Jimmy was our big. Jimmy and I actually did a camp overseas last summer. Jimmy moved to Geneva. So we did a camp in Eastern France together last summer.
Wow.
And we were laughing about this day because he was like, man, come on. So he's going to check in the game and he makes me go with him to the scorer's table. And my jersey's like XXX, like way too big on me. I look a little foolish. I'm a little anxious for real. I'm exhausted from 3-4 days of being working really hard and nervous about how it's going to go. So then I look up and there's like a little Haitian girl there by the table and I give her a pound. So I reach out and give her a pound. And she comes back with like 15 little girls, like all of them like that with their fists out. So I was like, oh man, like that put me at ease, right? It was like, first of all, it was adorable and it was so like, you know, organic and tapped into the source. Like they were just like, oh, let's give this blonde a fist bump. They're not used to seeing white people, I think, and they kind of look at me funny because of that. And so it made me less anxious for sure. And I get in the game and I never get back tapped, dude. Like I can handle the ball at a high level. Like that's all I think I do very well. I can shoot it a little bit, but I handle it at a very high level. So people don't take it from me. And I go by the first defender and his length and he back taps it and they steal it, throw it over my head, dunk. So I'm like, oh shoot, we got to get it out quick out of the net and, you know, run right back at him. Nah, man, they take the ball out of the net. They're nodding at me like this with the ball on his shoulder. Like, yeah, you know, and the whole place is loud as shit. And, you know, we're like down 18 or something at that point. So no, it was a, you know, very vivid experience. And we have a guy on our team. His name is LeBron, like LeBron, but with a U. And LeBron's from there and he's a really athletic player. So I was thinking, man, we're good. We're going to be fine. We got James, we got LeBron, but no, we were in trouble. But fortunately, that lefty could really shoot. And because I was in the game, he kind of got off the ball. So I was just making plays for him. And he was getting a lot of open shots and others were getting him the ball. He started feeling it. And we came all the way back. The young kid who's from that town, he now plays for University of Fort Lauderdale, Carl Bigort. Carl came in, hit a corner three. I think he was like 17 at the time. So that was just such a vivid day of hooping. And my only semi-pro game of my career, I made one floater and we won by one.
Wow.
So that, you know, that value of that memory, that whole day was a very transformative and powerful day. And that's how it ended before we drove back to Port-au-Prince. And that was the last full day I was in Haiti on my first time at Haiti. So, you know, that's one of the more vivid and memorable moments with the game that I've ever had.
That's incredible. Thanks for sharing that. I felt like I was there. You told that story in great detail.
Yeah, I appreciate you, Spence, man. You're a great listener. I know I've been rambling a bunch, but yeah, that Tigwav day, it's amazing. Coach Junior is the coach locally there who still does an excellent job. He just got a kid who's really good. We call him Zion. He moved to New York, who's about 18. He's probably the best young player out of that city in the last couple years. But they do an amazing job with the girls program there. And we were fortunate to send them a hoop and send them some supplies. But that's one of those guys that I want to help more. Like they go to Southeast Haiti. So Tigwav is kind of Southwest. Like Haiti's almost, you know, shaped like a hand. Say the border of the DR is there. And the Port-au-Prince capital is there, like Cape Patience up here. So Tigwav is on the way to Jeremy over here. Like Tigwav is here in the south. So Southeast Jacmel is like over here. So they've been traveling to Jacmel to play in these organized tournaments. And it's like, that's great. The interaction of these different communities, the game bringing together these different communities. So it's like, takes them resources to be able to take a whole team to Jacmel. And that's the type of thing that right now I can't support Tigwav's travel from Tigwav to Jacmel. But if I am successful and down the line, that is the type of things that we want to have infrastructure for and built in. And, you know, it's great that they're already doing it to the level that they are. Mm-hmm. And the guy in Sudiste, in Jacmel, this guy named Jonas Lyle, is amazing because he's over there making things happen. He has a program called You Just Vibes, and that's his basketball program in Jacmel. So, they have gotten my attention. I've never been there. I never met Jonas in person, but just the nature in which he's approached me and how he's built his organization, it's clear it's another one of these entities I want to get behind. So, there's some synergy there in the South, and it's good because it needs to happen over there. Because these are things that our community can congeal and get behind, just like everywhere in the world. So, no, the Tiguav basketball scene is legit.
Yeah,
That's
it
for
sounds
sure.
like it. When you're 80 plus years old and your basketball stuff is done and you're thinking about it all, what do you think your number one accomplishment will be?
Well, if I'm still around, man, that would be a great blessing, and hopefully it wouldn't be done at that point, right? That's how I look at this. I'll be that old ball coach, but my greatest accomplishment with the game to this point, or what it will be at that
What
point?
it will be.
That's what you're
Yeah,
saying.
what it will be. What do you think it will be, or what do you hope it will be?
That's such a tough conjecture. I really wonder. I wonder what it would be. I mean, I think at that point it would not be soured. Still have the understanding and appreciation for what the game has given me. If I can keep that perspective to that stage of my life, if I'm still around, then that would be an amazing accomplishment.
That's awesome. We like to end every episode with what is one piece of advice that you would go back and give to your younger self. So with all your experience, all your coaching and playing and traveling and everywhere you've been, what is that one piece that you wish you may have known earlier?
I'm gonna give my younger player self some advice. As a high school player, I was never a threat to score the ball, so that's the advice I would give myself. You got to put the ball in the basket. Stop being so selfless as a point guard and thinking that everybody else has a better chance to make a shot than you. When ultimately, obviously, I wasn't even a threat to score, so it limited what I could do for them as well. So I'd say, yeah, always be a threat to put that ball in the basket.
Nice. Aaron, thank you for coming on. This was great. Any social links or where can people find the Haiti Basketball Foundation and yourself and get a peek behind the scenes of what you're doing?
Yeah, I really hope I didn't talk too much, man, and you were able to pull some salient points out of what I said. And it's an honor to be on here. I love that you're sharing the stories behind the game, and good luck with the brand. And I wish you the best. And I appreciate you giving us the opportunity to highlight our work. Haiti Basketball Foundation is on Instagram as Haiti_hoops. We also have a Facebook for Haiti Basketball Foundation. The HaitiHoops.net website will launch this spring. So we're under construction. You can go to HaitiHoops.net now. It'll take you to our donation portal. And obviously we love anybody. Every bit of help goes to where we need it. It goes to Haiti basketball, and it's, no donation is too small. So we're very grateful for anybody who's been able to contribute to this point and anyone who will contribute down the line. But ideally, and soon enough, HaitiHoops.net will be a lot more than just where you can go and make a donation as well. So stay tuned for that one online. But yeah, Haiti_hoops is our social network that we're most active on at the moment.